Hi everybody, this is Julia from the Stitchergurl podcast. It is Thursday, October the 24th, and this is my Knit City recap. Knit City is a big knitting fiber event that took place in Vancouver, October the 3rd to the 6th, I believe. And it's the 8th year it's been going on in Vancouver. And it's put on by a group called Knit Social, which is two individuals, Amanda and Fiona. And so this is the 8th year it's been going on in Vancouver. I've never been out west before. And I thought, Julia, it's time for you to get your butt out west. So this was all part of the birthday celebrations this year, the Big 5-0. And I said, I have to do something. So I went to Vancouver. So that was very cool. And so this podcast is going to be about Knit City. I know you're used to me talking about cross stitch and so forth, but today, I promise, knitting and fiber goodness, all that squishy goodness that we talk about all the time. So, oh my goodness, where do I begin? Well, Wellington, of course, wants to be involved in this podcast. Because Wellington, it wouldn't be a podcast without Wellington making a little noise. I guess noise is the word we're going for. Yeah, he's such a happy baby. So I did make some notes because I wanted to be somewhat, organized, somewhat professional. So Vancouver. For my international peeps, Vancouver's the west coast of Canada. It's in the province of British Columbia. So it's the opposite part of Canada from where I live. And it's approximately 7,500 kilometers. So that is it's not halfway around the world, but it felt like it the day I was flying there. I'm like, where am I going? I've never been on a plane for longer than maybe 3 hours. So this was a new experience for me too. So I left at the crack of dawn, Moncton, October the 2nd at I think the plane left around 6:30, and we went to Toronto. And then I had a bit of a wait in Toronto for about an hour and a half, and then the plane to Vancouver was roughly 5 hours, and I was flying with WestJet, which I've never done before. And the cats are having one of their episodes right now. That's okay because I'm a professional and it doesn't bother me. So I got into Vancouver about 12:30 Vancouver time. So where I live in New Brunswick, that's 4 hours ahead. So it was already 4:30 in the afternoon for me. I'd been up at the crack of dawn to get that plane at 6:30. So it had already been quite a long day. So when I arrived at the airport, I was meeting my friend downtown, and I took the famous SkyTrain, which is like a metro or a subway. And so you can get on that right at the airport, and that takes you right downtown Vancouver. And then I met up with my friend there. Then we took a bus to his place. Because this is another thing that made the trip that much worthwhile is I had a place to stay when I went. So, and my friend was literally walking distance to the whole event. And his place is in the eastern part of Vancouver. So, not far where it becomes Burnaby. if you know where that is. So blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this makes lots of sense, Julia. But so you had to go downtown from the airport to get a bus. And then we went east to his place. And just a little bit further east of him is the P&E, which is the Pacific National Exhibition. And this is where Knit City was taking place. They had the Forum, which is like an arena, and that's where the marketplace was. There was a room at the Coliseum. For those of you that know your hockey, the Vancouver Canucks used to play at the Coliseum back in the day. You know, when they wore orange and black? Yeah, back in the day, they played there. So there was a room there at the Coliseum that was used for the quiz night we did. There was the guest lecturer spoke there as well. The courses that I took, 'cause I took a couple of workshops, they were held in the Atrium Hotel, which was on Hastings, which again was just like maybe a 10-minute walk from where the marketplace was. So everything was quite close and within walking distance. And where I was staying with my friend, I could take a 5-minute bus ride, or I could walk maybe 30 minutes. Yeah. So it was all quite good. The weather, as some of you may know, is always pretty even in Vancouver. They still had lots of flowers in bloom. And if it did rain, like it didn't rain all day. It rained for maybe part of the day and then it cleared up. And, but yeah, I had some nice weather while I was there. And I wanted to try and weigh my time evenly between the actual knitting event and doing some touristy things and spending time with my friend. So let's see. Oh, another little added drama to my trip was about a week before I went away, I had come down with another sinus infection, and this meant another course of antibiotics. So I was taking antibiotics when I was away, so I know how to party. Yeah, I party hard. Let me tell you, on those antibiotics. So that was kind of a bummer. So I couldn't partake in any wonderful libations in Vancouver, because I would have liked to have taxed some craft beers, but not happening with the antibiotics. So I arrived on a Wednesday. Because I was ill with the sinus infection, my ears didn't clear up right away, and I actually had to go get some decongestant pills to help with that, because still, like, even Friday morning, I was still like a little, what? Like a granny. I couldn't always hear things very well. So Thursday night was the first event, and this was just like a knit night, basically. A very informal knit night. It was held, I can't remember the name of the place. Yeah. It was on Hastings. It had a funky name, though, I think. It was like a bar/hotel, and it was like a bar restaurant kind of place, and that had been reserved that night for the event. I'll be putting in like pictures and names and stuff all throughout this podcast. If I can't remember something, I'll insert it. So, as you may know or remember, I went there by myself. I did not know anybody. I knew of people, but I did not know anybody. So my friend dropped me off at the place. I walked in, and of course I got this hearing situation. and I'm like sussing out the room. Where can I sit? Where can I sit? And oh my God, are these Vancouver people friendly? You know, are they going to eat me alive? Yeah, no, none of that. But I walked around and I found a table where there was one seat available. And I went over and I said, is this seat taken? And there were three really wonderful, charming, lovely women who said, oh, that chair must be for you. So, you know, thank you, ladies, for welcoming me, for making that first night special for me. So a big shout out to Jill, Nicole, and Chantal for being just so fab with me and putting up with my my hearing issues and so forth. We had a lot of good laughs. There was a photo booth thing, and we took some great pictures together, and I'll put those in somewheres. And they're all local girls, and so they had been attending this event for a few years, so they knew what was going on. Okay. And so this was like a very informal event, a way to kind of like break the ice, to kind of get everybody warmed up for Knit City. And the grocery girls were there, and they were giving out door prizes, and it was just a nice time. You know, there were appetizers, cocktails, very nice way to begin the event. So that was tons of fun. Then Friday I wanted to do something touristy. So I was feeling better, and I went downtown. I wanted to go find some Emily Carr art. And if you don't know who Emily Carr is, we have a problem. No, we don't have a problem, but I will insert some of the photos I took. They had 4 of her paintings at the Vancouver Art Gallery, and that is where I went, Vancouver Art Gallery, downtown Vancouver. And unfortunately, they only had the 4 paintings, but that's okay. There were other exhibitions going on at the time, but they're more modern art. And, you know, like one of the things was the artist took apart a cardboard box and then rearranged it and put it back together again. Okay. So for me, that is not art. Okay. But for some people, that thing probably cost thousands of dollars if you wanted to buy it. But that was not my thing. I was there for the Emily Carr. Emily Carr, Canadian painter who was based out west. And when I show you some of her paintings, you'll see there is a native influence too, where she totem poles. She has painted totem poles. Some of those paintings, I think, are probably some of her more well-known ones as well. There was the Raven was there at the Vancouver Art Gallery, and that was really spectacular to see that in person. When you're looking at her, like these pieces were not that huge. We're talking, oh my God, regular standard size. You know, arm's length by arm's length, maybe a little longer. So they were not, you know, ginormous, like the Group of 7. If you've seen some of their canvases, they're like the size of walls, okay? So, but her colors are very interesting because at times there is a very dark, foreboding feeling about her paintings, but then there are these splashes of brighter colors. And there was this blue sky, and you could see like the brushstrokes, and the color was quite something in person. That's the thing about a lot of artwork. We're familiar, with seeing paintings in books and on TV and on the internet, but it's not like standing in front of them and being able to enjoy those rich colors. So that was really special for me to be able to see that, to see some of her work up and close. And instead of buying a book on her paintings, I got her autobiography, and it's called Growing Pains. Now, she died in the mid-40s, and in Growing Pains, she tells the story of her life starting with her rebellious girlhood. That sounds good. She vividly conveys her adventures, misadventures, and passionate commitment to art while training as an artist in San Francisco, London, and Paris. So this is a moving yet wry telling of the making of an artist, a woman who struggled to be independent in order to nurture the depths of art within herself. So she even won a Governor General's Literary Award, if you know what that is. We have these literary awards given out every year in Canada by the Governor General. So that's pretty spectacular. I didn't know that about her. But Emily Carr has its association with the Group of Seven, and I'll put in a picture of the Group of Seven here of some paintings, and I'm sure you've seen them before. Very majestic, rich, bold landscape. Well, you want to say hi to your peeps? Oh, we almost had an accident. Sorry, baby. So that was the Friday, and then in the evening, the star attraction, the guests, the vedette, the big superstars of Knit City, Arnie and Carlos were there. And Arnie and Carlos gave a lecture on the Friday night. And if you've ever watched their YouTubes, they are just like that in person. Arnie is the one where the hair always looks a little disheveled. And, Carlos's hair is always very sleek and he's well kempt. Is that the word? If you're unkempt, he's kempt. Arnie unkempt, Carlos kempt. Yeah, Julia. Okay, yeah. So they were a delight. I had my picture taken with them. They were quite funny, actually, and it was a wonderful lecture. It started off in their beginnings. They met in fashion school in Norway, and they started off as fashion designers. And then they eventually, there's Welly. And then they eventually got into knitting, and I may cough at some point because my cold cough is still not all gone. And just flick your tail. And they got into they're very interested in the construction of things, the texture, a lot of Scandinavian elements. They bring that to their work. If you see any of their knitting patterns, they create these collections for Rowan, and there's always Scandinavian motifs, but maybe with a twist. So, they were very enjoyable. They had their books there for sale. I think some of their more well-known books are the Christmas Balls book and the book they did on birds, where they knitted birds, they knitted Christmas balls, and they've done dolls. There's actually an Arnie and a Carlos doll. They're quite cute. So, but yeah, it was very interesting to hear them start about their beginnings and how now they're in knitting, and now actually they just they've come out with a fabric collection for quilters. Yeah, very, very interesting. I think a lot of us perhaps might have first heard about Yarny and Carlos through Sock Yarn with their association with Regia, and with these, we have no tech support, Wellington. There we are, Julia. With the self-striping yarn, the yarn that, excuse me, it creates a pattern as you're knitting it. So it might look like you've done some stranded color, Julia, some color work in your knitting, but you haven't. Welly is my assistant, and he's right to my right. And he's so happy. Right, so that was the Friday. And there was something crazy like 400 people there. And you should have seen them. To see that many people sitting in a room and they all got some kind of knitting on the go. The needles were flying that night. And yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Saturday again. Now, Saturday was the first day that the vendors market was open. And if you've ever attended an event like this or any kind of an event where there's a vendors market, a merchant mall, whatever, the first day, the first few hours are complete pandemonium. Like, if you want to go to something like that, you have a game plan and you wear body armor. I did not go Saturday because, you know, I knew it was open on Sunday. And plus and Saturday ended up being a really beautiful weather day. So we wanted to do some touristy things. So my friend took me around Vancouver, showing me the places that he likes to go. He's very much an outdoorsy guy. He likes to hike, bike, rollerblade, run, all that stuff that makes me nauseous. And so he showed me like the places that he likes to go, and in most cases they tend to be very touristy places. You know, if you're an outdoorsy person, if you like to ski, if you like to run, or, you know, kayak, bike, you know, Vancouver is a great place to live because you can pretty much do that 10 months of the year. There's maybe 2 months where you can't do a lot of that stuff. So it's a perfect place for him. And, right, so Saturday we because, you know, number one, I'm not really a biker, a walker, a hiker, a climber, a rollerblader, anything like that. You know, I don't have life insurance, right? So we did a car tour, which was great. But no, we drove up to Burnaby Mountain, which, if you know that area, Simon Fraser University is located there at the top. We didn't go all the way to the top, but we went, you know, halfway up, whatever. And then you could get a good vantage point of downtown Vancouver from up there. And that's the thing about Vancouver. It's like, every time you turn, there's like a mountain right there. There's like mountains. They're just so close. And that kind of stops you in your tracks when you're not used to it. A little zhuzh. Yeah. So we went up to Burnaby, and then we crossed the bridge. I think it was the Narrows Bridge. So then we were on the other side, which is called, I guess, North Vancouver. So that's the road you would take if you were going to go, say, to Whistler to ski. Vancouver had the Olympics in 2010. So Whistler was the big mountain for all the for like the downhill events. So we didn't go all the way up to Whistler because Whistler is like a good hour or so away from Vancouver. But we went up Cypress Mountain, and that is a great mountain to go. There's well, it's all like parks all over the place, right? I mean, so there's lots of places you can drive so far and stop, get out, and you can have a great look at the city. And, you know, you can see the harbor, you could see there were lots of like steam ships and tankers and just other kinds of boats too. Yeah, so that was pretty spectacular, and you could kind of see the cities in the distance, like based on the skyscrapers. So that was Vancouver, and that was Burnaby, and then that was some other place in the distance. I can't think right now where that was. And then south of Vancouver, like I didn't realize this, but Vancouver is very close to the American border. So for Knit City, there were lots there from the Seattle, Washington State, Oregon State, and even down, I think there was some from California that came up. So yeah, so there was a lot of there was a good chunk of Americans there, and I didn't realize like how close Vancouver was to the border. So yeah, so that so on a really clear day, apparently you can see there's a mountain in Washington State, and you can see it from Vancouver if you're up on one of the mountains. So there you go. Then after that, we came down the mountain. And then we went across the Lionsgate Bridge. That's usually the bridge you see in photos a lot. It's kind of like a suspension bridge, kind of like the Golden Gate in San Francisco. And so on one side, that's North Vancouver, and on the other side, it's Stanley Park, the famous Stanley Park that everybody knows about. So we got off and we drove around Stanley Park. Now, I was reading about Stanley Park, and Stanley Park, you're probably going to be surprised to know this fact. Stanley Park is a slightly larger park than, are you ready? Central Park in New York City. Did you know that? Did you know that? So that was pretty cool. So, you know, we drove around, but then sometimes we would stop and do a little bit of walking, and, you know, it's just full of trails, and it was full of tourists too, let me tell you. And this was like October, the first weekend in October. We just happened to hit a really good day, so I guess everybody was taking advantage. And there are beaches in Stanley Park, and so, you know, lots of people go down, families, for the day. They spend the day there, you know, picnic, whatever. There's some restaurants, there's things to do. The Vancouver Aquarium is in Stanley Park. So it's, you can rent a bike and you can bike around it, and, you know, there's lots to do there. There's another spot that it's well known for is there's like a grouping of totem poles. I couldn't get that close because there were all these tourist buses, and you know the tourist bus. Those people mean business, right? So I didn't get that close, but I saw them, so that was cool. So then that was Stanley Park, and then what else did we do? I think after that I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, yeah, that was good. Like, I saw a lot, you know, and I got a good feel for the layout of the city, you know, and the mountains, and just There are certain parts of Vancouver that I never saw, but that was okay. You know, you can only do so much, right? But I think I had a good taste of it. And, you know, the Chinatown there is quite vibrant. So I think we drove through that at one point. And, you know, like I saw like where the clock and gas town, the steam clock, and that's another well-known landmark. You usually see that too in brochures and things for Vancouver. And yeah, so we went back and I had to rest up because Saturday night was pom quiz night. And this girl came with her A game. So once again, I show up at a place and, you know, the girls that I had met the other night, some of them were already there, and they were because they belong to like a yarn group, a knitting group, and so they were all like together. And then, but me and another one of the girls, we ended up sitting together at a table, and we had a team. We were maybe a bunch of misfits, I don't know, but we were still pretty freaking hot, let me tell you, because we came in second place. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. So it's called Pom Pom Trivia Night because Pom Pom magazine, they were the host, as well as Julie. No, watch it, babe, because this phone, like, you know, Julie Asselin was there as well, and I can't remember the editor of Pom Pom, the British girl. Anyways, they were wonderful. They were wonderful. Now, when you come in second place or runner up, you got something. And for those of you who watch the Grocery Girls, you probably know that Jody makes bags. And that's her tag, Mrs. Brown's Bags. Whoa, baby. And this is fabric that is made special. I think it's yarn ink. This was yarn ink yarn. I believe it's called steampunk. And it was knitted up, and then I guess she photographs it or something, and then she, you know, on spoon flower, you can do these things, right? You can take a picture and have it printed on fabric. I think that's what she does. Anyways, so this is the steampunk colorway bags. This bag is great for socks. And then there was a Grocery Girls tape measure, Urban Arns needle gauge, Pom Pom postcards. Very pretty. And, well, I guess that was it. But no, that was really quite spectacular. And Jody was actually sitting at a table right next to us, so that was pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. And that was a great night too, because a lot of the knitting designers who were teaching courses or who had booths in the marketplace were there too at the trivia night. So that was really cool. So I talked about Arnie and Carlos. So Sunday was the day that I was taking a workshop. But I had to go to the marketplace first. And this was the map of the marketplace. And I'll just read out some of the names of the vendors that were here. Ancient Arts, you probably heard of their yarn. There was a workshops given that focused on Coast Salish weaving. Now, Coast Salish is that area of, say, the southern part of BC, Oregon, and Washington, and this is the Coast Salish people. So this is a native, indigenous population, yeah. So these are the native peoples of this area of the Pacific Northwest. Oh my God. That sounded terrible. Anyway, so they were giving some workshops on how to weave in the Coast Salish style tradition. That was cool. Atelier Nekozuki was there, and she's known for her project bags that are made with specific Japanese fabrics. Very cool, very cute stuff. Who else is down here? Black Cat Custom Yarns. Oh my God. Like, I didn't, but I almost like just laid down when I walked in that booth because I was close to fainting from excitement. So I just laid right down on the floor there. That was just, yeah. Who else? Who else? Who else? Who else do I know? See, I didn't know some of these people. Firefly Notes was there, and I have ordered oh my God, the little markers when you're knitting, you know, the little rings. She's got the ones with the cat ears. I've ordered some of those from her before. Not Progress Keep, you know what I mean. I'm sure you do know what I mean. Ginger Snap, they're very well known indie yarn dyers as well. Julie Asselin was there with her yarn. Lichen and Lace was there, if you know them. I mean, yeah, Megan came all the way from Sackville and had a booth in Vancouver, Sackville, New Brunswick, which is where, you know. Midnight Cravings, oh my God, they're from Saskatchewan. And their yarns were beautiful. And did you know, oh my God, they have an Anna Green Gables collection. They didn't have it at the show, but I know all about it. It was very exciting. Midnight Cravings. Great stuff. You know, Pom Pom Quarterly was there. Richard DeVries was there from Toronto. Sarah Elizabeth Fiberworks. I really enjoyed her booth. The entire aesthetic of it. She had stuff for spinners, for knitters, crocheters. She even had some hand-dyed embroidery floss. Yeah. Who else is here? Sweet Georgia Yarns. Sweet Georgia Yarns are based in Vancouver. And Felicia Lowe, they have, their colors are just beautiful if you go on their website and see all their different yarns. They had a great area set up. They had a knitter's lounge where they had some displays. And they had, was like a spinner circle, I guess you could say, where people had brought in their spinning wheels and they were sitting around and they were spinning and just hanging out. And then Felicia's booth was there with all of her beautiful, beautiful yarn. Yeah, I love her colors. Who else? Yarn Ink was there. Twill and Print. Trey Liz was there, you know, and that girl was from Greece, so she must have come to North America for the fall. Tanis Fiber Arts out of Montreal. I think we all know her yarns. Tin Can Knits. I think we all know them. They're great designs. There was just a lot of great vendors, and like I said, a lot of them were local. So there was some Knit City merchandise. There were these cute little bags with the sweaters on them. And I got a pin with the toque, the famous Canadian toque. So that was good fun. What did I get? Oh, at Bad Anna's. Bad Anna's is a knitting store in Vancouver, and they had these little gnome kits to make a knitted gnome. I'll have to insert a picture because I've only got like a black and white. But it was a kit that came with everything you need. The floofy, the yarn, the directions to make a little gnome, a knitted gnome. Some people are really into the whole knitted gnome thing. Anyways, I thought that was just really cute. I had to get in on that. What else did I get? Now, I wonder if I have the card for this place. Yes, I do, because it's in the back. A threaded needle. If you're somebody who enjoys shishiko or the Japanese fabrics, the shishiko threads, the needles, patterns, this is the place to order from. A threaded needle. Her booth was lovely. I mean, all that stuff, Japanese fabrics, I can't tell you. And their pattern books. Like you might say, oh, I cannot buy that because it's all in Japanese. But no, their picture diagrams are like phenomenal. Like you do not need to be able to read Japanese to be able to function. You know, like you could make something for sure. Yeah. But she had these class frames, like to make wallets and little like clutch purses and everything. So I got one of these. So this is the, yeah, you can see it there with the, so I'm going to make myself a little wallet at some point, and I thought that would be a lot of fun. Kind of neat to make. Was good. At the Boku booth, Aruna. I think a lot of people know Aruna from, one, her project bags, but also she does punch needle. She did do some workshops, and she's from Toronto, but this is a pin that I got at her booth, and apparently her daughter drew this cat, and then they made it into a pin. So that was kind of cool. What else? I told you about Sarah Elizabeth Fiberworks. And all of a sudden I realized I didn't have any DPNs with me for my trip. And I'm like, holy Moses, this could be a situation. So I got some Lickas. And let me tell you, they are smooth as a baby's butt. Lickas, yeah. They're, is it birchwood? Anyways. Oh my God, it's open. I almost lost them all. Licka. They're made in Nepal. I feel like they come from Europe, but I don't know. They have, interchangeable sets as well. And then I bought up this cute little pack of just mixed fibers for spinning, which is, you know, I don't really do that. So, but it's just pretty. What else did I get? Okay, so Black Cat Yarn, people. They have an Etsy shop. They have, where did my pin go? I got the pin. They had these grab bags. These are the grab bags. They were like, were they like $45? these nylon bags. And most of them had 2 skeins in them. But on Sunday, they went around and threw a third one in some of them. And there were like pins, and there might be some other stuff in there as well. And these are all seconds. Seconds means that something might have happened during the dyeing process. The color didn't come out the way they had wanted it to. Maybe the skeins had extra knots in it. Some kind of flaw, but still perfectly good, usable yarn. So I bought this for myself, and the first skein I pulled out was this color. This is worsted, and it's not showing true to color at all. No, it is more like a lime fluorescent green color. I think Incredible Hulk, because I think was the inspiration for this colorway, but it's coming out mint green on here. It's not mint green. Anyways, nothing looks wrong with that skein of yarn. Then the next one I pulled out, I have to pull out the right one. This one. Yeah, this one looks pretty good. I think this is they have a Sailor Moon collection. Anyways, this is a sock yarn. Yeah, everyday sock. Anyways, and it's got some pink speckles in there. See them pink? Black speckles. Anyway, so that was very exciting to get, because I was really trying my darndest. Oh, Cherub is trying to be Evel Knievel. Cherub, now's not the time. Hi. Evel Knievel sock yarn. There's nothing wrong with this skein of yarn. And so I was trying not to buy purple yarn. Trying everything I touched. Oh, look, it matches your hair. Oh, look, it matches your coat. Oh, it matches your bag. Like, yeah. I pulled out the third skein of yarn. Purple. Now, this has got some, like dusty rose. And then there's some eggplanty, some really nice purple, some black in there as well. I think it's showing flat on screen, but it is brighter than this. Anyway, so that was a ton of fun. So that was Black Cat Yarns. They're out of Chilliwack, and they have a huge Etsy shop. And I always go on their Etsy shop, and I look at their yarn, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what it's really like. And now that I've seen it, I'm like, yeah, pretty freaking awesome yarn. So that was cool. Now, oh, Sea Turtle Fiber Hearts. This was like the first thing I bought, and I saw it, and it's like freaking Halloween colors. That's pretty true. Pretty true. And Sea Turtle, they're out of Calgary. And that's a sock as well. And I just said socks. And when you bought something from them, you got to choose a little mini. And I picked this little mini Christmassy skein. Is it called something? Yeah, it's called Grinch. It does make me think of The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. So that was a ton of fun. And then I bought a skein for my mother. Like, I don't have that to show you. Maybe I'll find it and put a picture in. But she was really, really happy about that. So that was the merchant. I mean, I could have seriously bought so much more. But what are you going to do with it? You know, I have a lot of yarn now. And you know, you buy the fingering weight yarns. You're like, oh, that's a pretty skein. And then you have like 20 skeins of that stuff. Like, and none of them match. Anyways, yeah. So I just got a few mementos. And so that was good. This is something I didn't show. When I was at the art gallery, I bought this. This is native. It's called the Four Corners Spindle Whorl. Whorl, W-H-O-R-L. Represents the coming together of all directions, symbolizes a unity and diversity. Can you see that? And it's got like abalone. There, that's better. So it's a necklace, and I got that to have a little native memento from my trip. So that was cool. We're at 50 minutes. Holy jeepers. So I took workshops. So the one I took on Sunday was called Shawl Shape Exploration with Andrea Rangel. I seriously hope I'm pronouncing that woman's name right. Anyways, that's her. And so basically what you see on the front is what we talked about. So the basic triangle, everybody knows a triangle. This is the pie. So this is the shawl made in the round. Then we have a half pie. Then this one here, this one is the side to side. So you would cast on a couple of stitches and then you increase, and then you get to where you want to be, and then you decrease. This one here, I have to think what it's called. I think it's called the bottom up crescent shawl pattern. That's right. So without giving anything away, that's a better picture. But what we did with that is you cast on so many stitches, and then you're doing short rows back and forth, and that is giving that triangular crescent, like more of a crescent shape to it. So yeah, I don't even know if I should show my samples because they're such hot messes, but this is the side to side where you start off with a few stitches and then you add on. This was the one I was talking about with the short rows. See, you don't get a lot done in these classes, right? Because, and then this was the half pie. But what I really wanted to do was to do a pie shawl. I wanted to learn how to do a pie shawl. So when I was flying back from Vancouver, I pulled out my pretty, this is a skein of yarn I've had for a while. It's sock yarn, opal style. And yes, I know. Oh, Julia, there's purple and plum colors. Big surprise. Anyways, so this is a shawl, a pie shawl. So you're knitting in the round. And so I cast on 9 stitches, joined it in the round, and then you just go around and around, and every so often you do increase. And then there's a little design. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. It's called the Sunburst Shawl. And then you've got this little eyelet pattern that happens. And the yarn itself kind of creates a nice design that's going on with it. Anyways, so that was great. So I can do a pie shawl now. Because see, I have the pattern for Stephen West eyeball shawl, and you have to do that, eh? You have to cast on and join in the round, and you're knitting in a circle for the eyeball part, and then at the end, stuff happens to make the eyeball shape. The other class I took was with Jennifer Steingass. That's her name. You probably know her. She's known for all her colorwork sweaters. I'll put a picture in. She didn't put a picture of herself on her pamphlet here. She did talk a bit about color theory in the class, because when you're doing color work, that's important, because if you want your pattern to show, you really have to think about your contrast. And she talked about how if you're not sure if there's enough contrast, you could take a picture of your yarn side by side, and then you want it to be black and white, and then you'll see it, how much contrast you really have. So she had us do a swatch. This was a color work, basic color work, and she had us do a swatch in the round, and I think it was like a 30-row pattern, and I did 16, and this is what I accomplished. I'm trying to, between the purple hair and the wall, I think you could see it there. I was quite happy. She thought I was doing really well. And, these are what the floats look like on the inside. She says when she creates her patterns, she doesn't worry about, carrying the yarn along, because she doesn't have a long, there isn't big spacing between her colorwork sections, if you know what I mean. Like, I think she said she never does it more than 7 stitches or something, so you don't need to worry about carrying it in the back. It just kind of falls nicely. And with colorwork, there's a way to knit so that like the white will show up better, and how to keep your yarns from getting all tangled up when you're knitting like that. So I felt like I learned quite a bit there, and don't call me colorwork queen yet, but give me time. So the Cozy Knit girls were there, and these are the 4 girls from Grand Prairie. They have a podcast. They were there. They were at the Ginger Snap booth. They were all wearing their it was a cardigan fade, the Andrea Mowry Find Your Fade cardigan, and they always tend to be very somewhat color coordinated. Like, one's always purple, one is always blue, one is always green, and is the other one pink? Yeah, there. Well, somebody got a little excited there. So then, so I did one workshop on the Sunday, one workshop on the Monday, and then Tuesday morning I left Vancouver and flew back to Moncton. And I left about midday Vancouver, and I arrived Moncton at like 1 o'clock in the morning. But I didn't have to go to work till the next day, so that worked out well. So it was a very enjoyable trip. It was a really good time. Unfortunately, I was sick, so I wasn't as, full of it as I usually am. But Knit City, the girls Amanda and Fiona are organizing Montreal edition. And it's going to be at the Le Centre Sheraton en Ville, Montréal, au fin de mars. So so that's going to be a lot of fun, because that's going to be the first time. And so once again, there's probably going to be vendors there, more Eastern Canada vendors. And it's much closer to Moncton. So that's that. So I think this is the end of the Knit City edition. The Stitchergurl podcast, Knit City edition. What do you think? So if you have any questions, comments, let me know. Be happy to hear your feedback. If you too did go to Knit City, say hi. And I'll have some pictures and stuff to throw in here at the end, so you can see some of the things that I experienced. And as always, Thanks for dropping by. It's always great seeing you, spending time with you. And I hope to see you again soon. Perhaps maybe Knit City, Montreal, perhaps Knit City, Vancouver, or perhaps here on the Stitchergurl podcast. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Bye.